January 25th, 1997. A burned-out white Ford Fiesta is found on a dirt road near a lagoon outside Pinamar, Argentina. Inside, a charred body, handcuffed, shot twice in the head. The dead man is a photographer, and the man who ordered his death is someone whose face no one has ever seen. To understand this murder, you first need to understand the man behind it. Alfredo Enrique Nalib Yabran was born on November 1st, 1944, in La Roca, a small town in Argentina's Entre Rios province, the seventh son of Lebanese immigrants. He arrived in Buenos Aires in the early 1960s with nothing. Within 2 decades, he built a business empire worth an estimated $400 million to $2 billion. He controlled Argentina's private postal service through a company called OCA. He ran the warehouses at Ezeiza International Airport. He operated the duty-free shops, the cargo ramps, the government printing presses. But here's what made Yabran different from every other billionaire in Argentina. No one knew what he looked like. He boasted that not even Argentina's intelligence services possessed his photograph. They called him El Cartero, the postman. But a better name was the Invisible Billionaire. When Carlos Menem became president of Argentina in 1989 and launched a massive wave of privatizations, Yabran was perfectly positioned. He had privileged access to the Casa Rosada, Argentina's presidential palace. His companies won contract after contract. OCA handled 30% of all mail in the country. His airport operations controlled what came in and out of Argentina. In 1995, Economy Minister Domingo Cavallo stood before Congress and did something extraordinary. He publicly accused Yabran of being a mafia boss with political and judicial protection. Cavallo said Yabran used mafioso methods, ordering beatings and arson against anyone who refused his demands. He accused him of drug trafficking, weapons smuggling, and money laundering. It was the first time anyone in government had dared to speak Yabran's name publicly. But even after these accusations, not a single photograph of the man existed in the public record. February 16th, 1996. Pinamar, an exclusive beach resort on Argentina's Atlantic coast. A 34-year-old photographer named Jose Luis Cabezas is on assignment for Noticias magazine, covering the summer social season, and he spots something no journalist has ever captured: Alfredo Yabran walking on the beach with his wife. Cabezas knows that if he raises his camera directly, Yabran's security will intervene, so he uses a trick. He pretends to photograph his own wife, positioning her in the foreground while Yabran walks in the background. Click. On March 3rd, Noticias publishes the photo on its cover. For the first time in history, the invisible billionaire has a face. Yabran's reaction, according to multiple sources, was a single sentence: "To take a picture of me is like shooting me." After the photo's publication, Yabran was furious. According to court testimony, he told his security chief, Gregorio Rios, that he wanted to spend the next summer quietly, not like the last one. Rios understood. He began assembling a team. He recruited a police officer named Gustavo Prelezo and members of a local gang called Los Horneros. The plan was simple and brutal. Corrupt officers would liberate the zone, pull all police patrols from the area around Pinamar on a designated night, creating a corridor where the killers could operate without interference. Then the team would find Cabezas and make sure he never took another photograph. January 24th, 1997. Cabezas is covering the summer party scene in Pinamar. That evening, he attends an annual gathering hosted by businessman Oscar Andriani. His colleague Gabriel Michi leaves earlier. Cabezas stays. He leaves the party around 4 in the morning. As he walks toward his rented flat on Avenida Bunge, a group of men is waiting. They surround him, beat him, throw him into his own car, a white Ford Fiesta owned by his magazine. They drive him out of Pinamar to a dirt road near a lagoon called La Salada Grande in the neighboring district of General Madariaga. They handcuff him. Gustavo Prelezo pulls out a gun and shoots Jose Luis Cabezas twice in the head. Then they douse the car in accelerant and set it on fire. The photographer who dared to show the invisible billionaire's face is 35 years old. He leaves behind a wife and 3 children. The murder of Jose Luis Cabezas triggers the largest press freedom protests in Argentina since the return of democracy in 1983. ARGAA, the Association of Graphic Reporters, creates a slogan that becomes a national rallying cry. No se olviden de Cabezas. Don't forget Cabezas. Thousands march across the country. The investigation is chaotic. False leads are planted. An innocent woman named Margarita Di Tullio is wrongfully imprisoned for 80 days. But eventually, 2 lines of inquiry converge: the Buenos Aires Provincial Police and Alfredo Yabran. Then comes the bombshell. Justice Minister Elias Hassan is forced to resign when investigators discover he made 102 personal phone calls to Yabran, including calls to Yabran's bodyguards the day after the murder. For over a year, the case stalls. Then, on May 15, 1998, the breakthrough comes from the most unexpected source. Sylvia Belowski, the ex-wife of police officer Gustavo Prelezo, walks into court. She testifies that in March of 1997, just 2 months after the murder, Prelezo confessed to her. He told her he killed Cabezas. He told her Yabran ordered it. And he warned her, never in your life even think of opening your mouth if you don't want something to happen to you. That same day, Judge Jose Luis Cabezas of the Dolores Federal Court issues an arrest warrant for Alfredo Yabran. The invisible billionaire now has 5 days of freedom left. May 20th, 1998, 5 days after the arrest warrant is issued. Police track Yabran to his rural estate, Estancia San Ignacio, near the town of Gualeguaychú in Entre Rios province, 400 kilometers north of Buenos Aires. An employee tells them no one is home. The police insist on entering. They hear a woman's voice screaming, "No, Alfredo!" Then a single gunshot. They find Alfredo Yabran dead, shot in the mouth with a 12-gauge shotgun. His face is destroyed. At least 32 pellet impacts to the skull. The man who spent his entire life making sure no one could see his face dies with his face obliterated. He is 53 years old. He leaves behind 2 suicide notes, blaming 2 political figures for his downfall. The official ruling is suicide, but 72% of Argentines don't believe it. The body's face was completely destroyed, making visual identification impossible. The fingerprints were compared to records from when Yabran was 12 years old. Photos of the corpse have never been publicly released. 2 theories persist. The first, Yabran killed himself rather than face handcuffs, which he was known to dread. The suicide notes support this. The second, darker theory, Yabran was murdered because he knew too much. He could have implicated presidents, ministers, judges, and someone decided that an invisible man should stay invisible permanently. On February 2nd, 2000, a tribunal in Dolores delivers its verdict. 8 men are convicted. Life sentences for Gustavo Prelezo, the man who pulled the trigger. Life for Gregorio Rios, Yabran's security chief who organized the hit. Life for the corrupt police officers who cleared the zone. Alfredo Yabran is named the intellectual author of the murder, but is never tried because he's already dead. And yet, as of January 2025, 28 years after the murder, not a single one of the convicted killers remains in prison. Prelezo, the man who shot Cabezas in the head, was released in 2017. He became a lawyer. Yabran's widow moved to Uruguay with a fortune traced through the Pandora Papers to offshore companies in the Bahamas and Belize. Argentina enacted a law establishing January 25th as the National Day of the Photojournalist. Memorials stand in Pinamar, Buenos Aires, and Avellaneda, The Netflix documentary The Photographer, Murder in Pinamar brought the story to a global audience in 2022. Jose Luis Cabezas took one photograph of a man no one was supposed to see. It cost him his life, but it also exposed an empire built on silence, violence, and political corruption. The invisible billionaire spent his whole life making sure nobody could see him. In the end, a single photograph made sure nobody could look away.